We love us some Warren Buffett. We love talking about Berkshire Hathaway. We love talking about Buffett's great quotes, his great investments, his bad investments, the lessons that he shared with us. And we sure love talking about Buffett's latest stock buys. I'm Jason Hall. This is The Smattering. Tyler Crow is here with me because we are going to talk about three of Buffett's latest acquisitions. I got to be honest, maybe they're not Buffett's, but they're certainly Berkshire's. Buffett's in charge, ergo, Buffett's latest acquisitions. We're going to talk about three that Tyler and I absolutely love, and maybe why you should too. I'm Jason Hall. This is The Smattering. Before we talk about those three acquisitions that we absolutely love, just a reminder, the Motley Fool sponsors our videos. And if you're looking for even more great stock ideas than the three we're about to give you, I don't know why you should. They're perfect. Go to our special link, fool.com/The Smattering. The Fool is going to give you its 10 best stock ideas. It's 10 best stocks to buy right now. Please check out that link after you watch this video. Tyler, how excited are you about these three big recent acquisitions?
You and I are always trying to find an excuse to talk about home builders
It's not an
because
excuse, a reason.
yes,
More people need to hear this story.
it's
We're vindicated. We're vindicated,
story,
Tyler.
a story we keep wanting to tell, but nobody listens. But hey, guess what? If Berkshire Hathaway is buying them, maybe
There's something there.
it makes
There's
it
something.
interesting.
Here's what we know. The 13F is the SEC filing that large investors are required to file with the SEC every quarter, disclosing their holdings. And we learned that Berkshire Hathaway made investments in three home builders. These are three of the largest home builders: D.R. Horton, Lennar, and NVR. Tyler, let's talk about what these companies are and what they do.
They build homes. Home builders. I mean, what else do you want me to say there, buddy? But they're with diversified home builders. They build nationwide. They also build up and down the price points. They're typically categorized into first time, move up, and luxury are the three categories. We're starting to get some new weird ones. Active adult, where basically it's like retirement communities. There, some of them also doing a little bit of apartments too, so multifamily. But for the most part, they'll build anything, and they're pretty good at it. It's a tough business, but it can be a profitable one if done right. These three in particular, this is going to be the weirdest milquetoast take on why these ones were bought or anything else. They're just the three biggest ones in the home builders industry. And if Berkshire Hathaway wants to actually build a meaningful stake in a home builder without, if he goes over 10%, they have to disclose with the SEC as like an insider.
Instead of being a passive investor, they become an active investor, and it makes everything harder if you're Berkshire Hathaway and you just want to own stakes in these companies.
Right. So there's basically like 5 companies that they could do this with in the home builder industry. The entire stake in D.R. Horton is $700 million, at least when it was originally purchased. And looking at the industry right now, there's 5 where they wouldn't pass that 10% disclosure. They're good businesses, no doubt. NVR is probably one of the best wealth compounding businesses over the past 15, 20 years. It's not like some revelatory, like they've found the hidden gems of the home building industry. It almost feels a little bit like a bet on the industry than 3 particular companies.
That's not milquetoast. I think it's a good way to describe it because, again, the reality is, Tyler, we're talking about an $800 million investment. $800 million, Coca-Cola pays that much to Berkshire in dividends every year, right? It's a tiny amount of money in the scheme of this several $100 billion equity portfolio they have. So it is a tiny investment in the grand scheme of things. But I think your point is spot on, is that it is it's somebody, again, whether it's Buffett, probably not because of the size of it, but you have Ted Weschler and Todd Combs, who are the 2 lieutenants who are the named heirs of managing Berkshire's portfolio when Buffett eventually does step aside. There's a clear thought process that home builders are really appealing. And I want to talk about why that's the case. I think it's important to understand because you get the national housing news and it seems like it's set up for another crash, right? Housing prices are at these historic levels, interest rates are way up. And then you start hearing the existing home sales down 10%, it's down 20%. And it just seems like it's set up for a crash. And I think what people miss in a lot of cases that are not like you and me that have followed the housing industry for a long time is that we've reached this point where there is just such a dearth of inventory of that existing homes, which that should make up sales of existing homes historically is made up in the past 40 years, has made up between 80 and 90% of the market, depending on the period, right? It's a substantial amount of the market. So we have a large inventory of existing homes. None of them are coming for sale. We're like less than half as much inventory being listed for sale as we normally get. And a lot of that is because of what's happened since the end of the financial crisis. Home builders circled their wagons, shrunk substantially, and were very slow to emerge with growth coming out of the financial crisis. And part of that was lack of demand, right? There wasn't a lot of demand for the first several years. And then, for lack of a better way to put it, Tyler, there's been massive NIMBYism all across the country. It's the local it's state, county governments, town governments that make it extremely difficult for builders to build profitably, especially when we're talking about high density communities, condos, more affordable, smaller entry-level housing. It's harder to build. And we're at this point now where builders they have the better part of a decade of building to catch up with, on top of just the regular demand from household formation, right? You put all that together, and this is not financial crisis 2.0. There was way too much inventory back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s. We had all this excess inventory. That's gone. That stuff's been gone for a decade, and there's not enough. So I think I agree completely with the idea that this is an industry that is in demand and the tailwinds are going to be very good. And so far, Tyler, it seems like the industry has learned, at least the publicly traded industry, right? Not talking about the small builders, the private builders. I think generally the publicly traded companies have done a really good job of throttling their build outs, not getting over leveraged, developing land too quickly, getting out in front of it, because the cycles are real. And then we're in one of those cycles right now that can be painful. So my question for you, I think you and I agree, like the general tailwinds are pretty good. Thinking about Horton, thinking about Lennar, thinking about NVR, let's take our Buffett fan hats off. Let's take those off and just think about as an individual investor, are these stocks that you're interested in buying right now?
Home builders, yes. NVR of those three is probably the one that I'm most attracted to, just because they have proven to be the best of breed in this industry for a long time. I have some personal favorites a little further down the pecking order in the home builder industry, some of the smaller ones. Green Brick Partners is one that I've liked for a really long time, maybe a little expensive valuation-wise right now. That's neither here nor there. But I think investors should spend much more time in home building for the next 5 to 7 years, because I think despite the very short-term issues that we've had, like post-coronavirus pandemic, I still think there's going to be a very long and profitable home building cycle to happen, and these guys are going to be there for it.